All right, what's up, boxing fans? It's Aztec 101 in the ring. So I want to talk about Abel Sanchez for obvious reasons. You know, he's top story today, but not for good reasons. He got himself into some bullshit because he put his foot in his mouth. I mean, yesterday at the Canelo Triple G2 press conference, he was asked a very simple question and he gave a very complicated answer that got him into some bullshit. I mean, that's pretty much what happened, right? Before I go into it, I gotta say this: I've enjoyed the whole Triple G experience. I like Triple G. I like listening to his interviews. I like him as a fighter. I have absolutely no problem with Triple G, right? His fan base is a different story, but they come in different shades and colors and different personalities, so it's very hard to just paint his fan base with a broad brush. So they have nothing to do with this. I like Triple G. With that being said, the worst part about the whole Triple G experience has always been Abel Sanchez. Abel Sanchez, for some reason, I don't know why, he comes off as a liar, and he talks a lot of shit. One thing I know, when you get someone who talks a lot of shit all the time, eventually they talk themselves into some shit. And that's pretty much what happened. He was asked a very simple question, and that question was, hey, you said Triple G made Canelo fight like Floyd Mayweather. To some people, that would be a compliment. What do you mean by that? And mind you, I'm not quoting, I'm just paraphrasing. This fool, Abel Sanchez, responds to that and says, well, again paraphrasing, Floyd Mayweather, he has a certain style, he's defensive, he doesn't engage. Boxing fans, they want to see fighters that engage, and African American fighters, they've developed, they've acquired the sweet science as their style, and it's just not fan friendly, and people don't want to see that. And then he pretty much said that, I don't know if you guys read the undertone of what he was saying, but he pretty much said Canelo fights like a black guy. But at the same time, he was saying that black fighters are boring, their style is boring, and boxing fans are not entertained by their style. Boxing fans don't want to see that. You can reach and say that he also was, kind of implying that they're kind of have a cowardly way of fighting, right? But you might be reaching for that, but I guarantee you it's there for you to grab if you really wanted it. But at the end of the day, it did sound fucking kind of sketchy, right? Because it didn't need to be that kind of answer. Really, you could have answered it with saying, yeah, I think Floyd Mayweather runs, and I thought Canelo ran, so I said he fought like Floyd. Could have been very simple. Everybody would have thought the exact same thing before he even explained it, right? And then he gives this stupid-ass explanation and goes into it and digs himself in a hole and paints a broad brush, right? Pretty much saying black fighters are boring, and he brought up a fighter that he's training, saying that he's teaching him the Mexican style. Another thing I want to say is I get really annoyed with the way that Abel Sanchez takes credit for Triple G's accomplishments. Triple G is an entertaining fighter to people because he's really good at what he does, period. Abel Sanchez already got Triple G when he was in his prime. He was already a world-class fighter. He was already that. Abel Sanchez did not do shit but hold mitts and dry him off, and that's it, and talk in front of the camera. So I never really liked how, yeah, he plays that whole Mexican style, but he acts like he fucking gave him the aggressiveness and that nature. Triple G seems to already have that in him. I don't think that's something that Abel Sanchez taught him or you could teach anybody. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Another thing is that I gotta understand if there's a backlash. I understand where it's coming from. A few years back, when Floyd was at the tail end of his career, a lot of boxing fans were having the conversations of, Floyd Mayweather needs to fight a black fighter. And the reasoning behind it was, well, he's fighting a bunch of Mexican fighters, and the Mexican fighters are mostly come forward, robotic, and they have no defense, and they're slow, just a bunch of negative shit, right? And saying that the African American fighter was bringing a different style and also different attributes, physical attributes to the table that's unique to the African American style, right? And at that time, the main thing that bothered me was not necessarily that, hey, they're using this and painting, Mexican fighters as a, slow, stupid, and all this shit. I didn't like the idea of the generalization, because it's wrong, right? Back then and now. So I could see why people would be upset, but at the end of the day, I think the biggest reason why this bothers me is because that way of thinking, it's just wrong. All these fighters, they all come from they all have different styles. There's no black style. Black fighters are not all slick. That's fucking stupid. They're not all slick. Not all Mexican fighters are brave. They're not all entertaining. You know what I mean? That shit just it's not true. But it's just funny. It's kind of something I'm throwing out there now, because it's funny seeing how when Floyd Mayweather was at the tail end of his career, like I said, these type of generalizations were something that was thrown around pretty loosely. Now it's thrown out there back again, but it's directed towards the African American fighter, and it's been going at them for a while now, actually, because it came from Freddie Roach too, pretty much saying that black fighters don't sell, that they're boring. You've been hearing this for a little bit now, and it's new. This is something that's why it's kind of weird, because it's new. Never growing up did I hear that black fighters were not entertaining. That's fucking ridiculous. Sounds like a bunch of bullshit, right? Because it's not true. Like, black fighters are some of the most entertaining fighters, and they've carried the sport. And I think that to say that you can't sell a black fighter is retarded. And I'll leave you guys with this. Look, it's very simple. We live in America, where the majority of the population is white, right? Top 3 sports is baseball, basketball, football. The most American, most humble apple pie sport you can think of are those top 3, right? Most of the athletes that play in those sports are black. So, if you do the math, you can pretty much see that there's no excuse. There's no fucking excuse on why boxing in America can't sell a black athlete, just like any other sport that we have in America that does it all the time. You know what I mean? Fucking, we live in a country where most white Americans are sports fanatics. This is huge. It's $1 billion industry. Most white Americans have jerseys of a black man's name on, written on their back, and they're cool with it. Like, they love this shit. You can sell. I don't understand. There should be in sports in America, selling the sport and saying, I cannot sell this athlete to white America or African Americans. To say that you can't do that is actually, it's pretty fucking lazy. It's ridiculous, because baseball has no problem, NBA has no problem, NFL definitely doesn't have a problem, and boxing, I think it's all laziness. They're trying to pick low-picking fruit, right? They don't want to have to repackage, because American boxing, if you're gonna sell American boxing back to America, you're gonna have to learn how to sell the African American fighter, because they're, you know, yeah, they're a huge part of boxing. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me to even throw that idea out there. Uh, as a trainer, what are you gonna do, Abel? If you have a young black fighter that comes to you and that wants to be trained, I mean, are you gonna tell him that he's gonna have to change his style? Are you gonna automatically judge him because he's black and say that, hey, you know what, you're gonna be a little bit harder, more difficult client, you know? I don't know. I don't know. If he gets shit for it, he gets shit for it. I think he deserves it. He talked himself into some shit. That's it. But yeah, this is pretty much what I think about it. Tell me what you guys think. This is Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.